Hey folks, welcome back. Conflict comes in many forms. Straight up firefights or skyscraper-sized giants bashing it out in Asia. So get ready to rock with your jock out as we train our sights on today's top 5 forgotten sci-fi combat movies you need to see, Part 3. Number 5, Dog Soldiers, 2002. Okay, this isn't sci-fi, but maybe by the end of this segment, you'll forgive me. And now back to the regular scheduled programming.
Do you like dogs?
You'll probably change your opinion after watching Dog Soldiers. Dog Soldiers beefs up every werewolf trope there is. Set in the Scottish Highlands, a British unit is on training maneuvers. After a grisly camping horror setup, we open up on Sergeant Cooper evading a group of men. Cooper is vying for a spot in the Special Forces, and he's a shoo-in if he could just follow Captain Ryan's final command. Shoot the unit's guard dog.
Shoot it! No, stop!
Cooper refuses and is unceremoniously dismissed to his unit. Then Ryan does the deed himself.
No!
Is this foreshadowing? We catch up with Cooper's unit of fast-quipping British soldiers.
And you'll be taking my boot out your mouth in a minute, Joe, you baldy twat.
A tight unit whose camaraderie is overt. Joe moans.
The most important football match of my life is playing tonight, and I'm stuck up the backside of beyond without so much as a six-pack or a telly.
Well, that's the army for you.
And on this infamous night, the lads chat around the campfire, swapping tales of glory, when a heifer falls from the sky and now no one's getting any sleep. The next morning, they discover the remains of the SAS and a delirious Captain Ryan, who startles the men at gunpoint, muttering cryptically. Cooper is vocal that Ryan's uniform has no insignia, totally incognito, and this chance reunion is too coincidental. However, this situation is shoved to the back burner when they're attacked by ferocious beasts. Lycanthropes, or werewolves. The unit switches to live ammo and egress the hell out of there. Bruce is impaled and Sergeant Wells is eviscerated. Lucky Megan, a random zoologist, picks them up and drives them to a secluded cottage and tends to the wounded as they regroup. The werewolves track them down and siege the house. And this is when the cast performances absolutely shines. The dialogue between Wells, Cooper, Spoon, Joe, and Terry is spot on.
This is so fucking bone. Anything else?
Yeah. What does bone mean?
Bone, bollocks, naff.
Not very good.
As the ammo runs low, the men resort to knives, pots, pans, fisticuffs, and makeshift flamethrowers, and the battle scenes throughout don't disappoint. Their survival plan is further complicated as the werewolves shred both escape vehicles, leaving the soldiers no choice but to fight for their lives in the barricaded shelter. I mean, if they were up against vampires, they could just wait them out until dawn. But as impossible as it may seem, the werewolves must die. Further complicating things, Ryan and Wells have recovered miraculously, and it's revealed that they too are hungry like the wolves. Ryan is interrogated and he admits that the SAS mission was to capture a werewolf using our heroes as the bait. Maybe Cooper's refusal to shoot the dog elected his unit for this suicide mission. We learn that Megan is also a legacy werewolf. She's on the soldier's side and a reluctant member of the Lupin family. She stifled her transformation, but she does finally start to turn in the process and she's put down with a bullet. Ryan plays with his food and flosses Cooper's teeth with a blade. Fortunately, Cooper finds the silver knife that was referenced in the opening scenes and stabs Ryan, then finishes him off with a lead pill between the eyes. While Wells is in the throes of his metamorphosis, he cuts the gas line to the gas stove, sacrificing himself and blows the joint up with the werewolves. Cooper and the dog survive the blast. Dog Soldiers presents something new in the werewolf movie arena. Just take Spoon's final words, for example.
I hope I give you the shits, you fucking wimp.
Seriously, check out this movie. It's really entertaining. Number 4, Infini, 2015. Turf war between the East and West Coast gets an entirely new definition in the 23rd century. Something very strange is up on the mining facility Infini, mankind's furthest outpost. A crack search and rescue team from the East Coast was dispatched there via slipstreaming, teleportation technology. A returning squad beams back to HQ with a brutal case of rage, mouth foaming, blood caked, and full of bloodlust. Whit Carmichael emergency slipstreams to Infini during the fracas and lands in the belly of a John Carpenter situation. The mining facility has been infected by an alien virus / intelligence that can't read social cues. Because when a host is infected, the result is that of a Norse berserker who's on their period.
Wait, I thought all the miners were killed in a blast.
Yeah, well, no one fucking told them that. These guys were fucking berserk. They were deformed and they were real strong and they were fucking insane.
As the East Coast search and rescue bludgeon one another, Whit Carmichael and Chester Huntington are the last survivors, but there can only be one. And that's the tau of the bully virus. Once in the bloodstream, it attacks all other related cells, resulting in one dominant cell. And in turn, that host aspires to become the alpha by virtue of killing everyone else. If you can believe it, the alien entity simply defaults to the human's most base instincts, such as fear, violence, and more violence. But Whit has a heart-to-heart with it as he concludes his own life in defeat. And as he expires, pining for his wife and unborn baby, the unexpected happens. The virus develops a social smile and reverses Whit's and his teammates' fate and resurrects them from their dirt nap. Voila! Everything works out for the team in the end. Well, not so much for Mr. Ice, however. Infini's strength is at parity with its flaws. Being aware that the budget was just $5 million, the visual appeal resonates and gives us a rather entertaining watch. The script is wonky in places and a bit drawn out in spots. Annoyingly so, in fact, with long reams of exposition that doesn't contribute any extra value to the story other than stretching the movie's runtime.
I'm reading a whole bunch of singularity black hole bullshit, but basically you're going to be gone for 1 minute 14 seconds of our time, which will give you just over 24 hours, one day out there.
Another thing is how the virus seeks out the big man on campus in a confused attempt of communication. Whit isn't the ultimate alpha, even though he finishes off Chester, and that was strange to me. The violence is very amped up, so we can check that box. But it's not all-out combat, but more so a cage match of insanity. The plot hits some significant snags, affecting the pacing around the midpoint. Contrary to this, the movie looks good and the performances are solid across the board. Some interesting philosophical hooks, more than any other story hook. And in the ending, although feeling tacked on, it's an interesting turn after the second act lull. Infini is derivative of a few classic science fiction movies like The Thing, Alien, Event Horizon, Sunshine, and Doom, mainly due to the rapid response units that use teleportation technology and materialize in a hellscape. Infini is an enjoyable movie if you're not too critical of these and other foibles, because this is all about the journey and not the destination to insanity. Number 3, Kill Command, 2016. This one's especially chilling because chunks of the material is a possible shape of things to come. But for now, let's just check out Kill Command and whether it delivers on action and story. We are introduced to Mills, a cybernetically enhanced tech specialist working for Harbinger Robotics. She notices something awry, and this coincides with a 2-day military exercise set to test new anonymous SARs. Study, analyze, reprogram. Essentially, Terminators. Mills acts on Harbinger's behalf as an observer embedded with US military Marines. And they're off to Fantasy Island, where nightmares become reality. The in-flight entertainment is at Mills' expense. The Marines express their disdain for skin jobs, a whopping preamble to the main event on the horizon. Maneuvers begin without much incident. They knock off a few dorky robotic half-tracks.
They look fucking ridiculous.
One adorned with a creepy flaming mannequin, and FaceTime with buzzing tactical drones.
Getting all this? Like that?
It's an easy day at the office, but nightfall comes. Mills is the odd cyborg out, but Robinson takes a shine to her and her cold, weird eyes. While they get to know each other, a sentry is killed by a new threat. They discover his body the next morning, and that's when the game is flipped on its head. They're ambushed by much more advanced learning battle bots, whittling down the squad's complement of soldiers. The worst part is, and since they are learning computers, they adapt to the Marines' tactics, and they do an effective job putting the meat puppets in their place, corralling them with machine-like efficiency. This is no surprise. What else do man-eating robots do? Mills and the remaining soldiers make their final stand at a facility, yielding some exhilarating combat scenes, like Robinson's super secret marksmanship. Because he's equipped with the contact lens gun interface? Do I have this right? Regardless, it's as cool as Schlitz. And it's the impactfulness of the combat action in Kill Command that really sells the movie. The terrifying aspect of these machines is their adaptive skills ever increasing the lethality of their tactics. Faster evolution. And if they were ever to go rogue, oh wait, hold on, they did go rogue, then we'd be up shit's creek without an electromagnetic paddle nor an RPG. The fighting feels really close to the bone, and I felt the kickback multiple times watching this movie. Some critics checked Kill Command for the lack of character development, and I don't disagree that it lacks, but I also feel that it isn't necessary. I was still able to empathize with the characters that filled their roles well enough for the task, even the ones that didn't make it to the halftime show. The SARs look great and terrifying as the adversary. A nugget of truth behind these abominations abominations is that militaries are experimenting with fully autonomous hunter-killers that can feed off various things like, for energy, eaters or energetically autonomous tactical robots. Seriously, in a world this fucked up, you shouldn't be able to even conceive something like this, but, well, here we are. And the last remaining SAR hacks Mill to escape deletion and continue its mission? It appears to have transmitted a packet of data before shorting out, and when Books leaves her for dead to be evac'd, she revives, suspiciously ending on the image of the light configuration that was the robot's face. I do believe she was hacked and the threat continues, probably in a form of a robotic uprising. If you have an itch for this sort of eerie military sci-fi flick, Kill Command makes a good scratcher. Check it out. Number 2, Edge of Tomorrow, 2014. Live, die, repeat. When has PTSD looked like Groundhog Day? I can't remember, but regardless, Major Cage, whose surname echoes being conscripted into a war he cannot avoid, over and over again. A cardboard major, who's queasy around blood, is arrested as a deserter and sentenced to join the decisive beachhead offensive tomorrow against the Mimics, alien tumbleweeds of death that have destroyed much of the world. But the new exo battlesuits that have been produced will assure victory. However, the walk in the park becomes a meat grinder, leaving those left alive baffled as to how the Mimics anticipated this offensive.
They're not supposed to know we're even coming.
And so begins Cage's temporal spin cycle. In fact, Cage has died and come back more times than Nikki Sixx. However, each respawn adds endless pieces to his very painful puzzle. If he can figure it out, then the world stands a chance. The only other soul in the world who can relate is Rita, the full metal bitch who won the Battle of Verdun. Although the victory was a gimme from the Mimics, and what they have planned spells certain doom for humanity.
You're not being specific, you understand? You need to be specific, otherwise I'm dead.
On Cage's first turn at bat, he witnesses the elimination of J-Squad, and it gets f***ed over by Rita in a cutthroat act.
Did you just take my battery?
But this sets up the event. Cage sacrifices himself with a claymore, and the blood of a large mimic unintentionally grants him Groundhog Day abilities and vision of the Omega alien who controls its legion of soldiers. After much bone crunching, Rita and Cage make it off the beach and eventually make their way to the Omega, but there and mankind's destiny remains tenuous at best. In short, Edge of Tomorrow is pretty goddamn good. It's like War of the Worlds and D-Day rolled into the death sands these super soldiers flail upon. Cage's suffering is concrete, but consider the unimaginable hell of death as a rerun. But just as Cage said in his previous life,
I'm not a soldier, really.
No, of course you're not. That's why I'm embedding you with several 100,000 men and women who are.
While it is an honor, General, I'm afraid I'm gonna have to decline. Can't stand the sight of blood. Not so much as a paper cut.
You've come a long way, Tommy boy. This is, in some ways, the perfect Tom Cruise movie. Whether you loathe or love him, he possesses an impressive acting range. And surprisingly, the comedy lands really well in this one.
You alright, Cage?
I think I broke something.
What?
My back. The only thing I can feel in my lips.
I mean, after all, repetition is the hallmark of comedy.
What the hell were you thinking?
And Edge of Tomorrow smacks of it. And sweet, ferocious Emily Blunt. Her portrayal of Rita Vrataski, the full metal bitch herself, is a juggernaut in the exosuit and at hot yoga. Maybe the love connection was slightly unnecessary, but I think it was kept for the movie's final scene. If anyone thinks that Tom's a shit actor, check out the waterworks here. Good job, Tom. And the entire look of the movie is fantastic. The battle scenes absolutely rule, and I don't have a lot of bad things to say about it, except for Tom Cruise, you magnificent bastard. Stop proving me wrong. Number 1, Pacific Rim, 2013. Hey, did you own Rock'em Sock'em robots as a kid? And did you love bashing your opponents till their heads popped off? And did Japanese kaiju movies of old thrill the crap out of you? Pacific Rim stitches all of these beloved elements into a tight tapestry, with all the flair that 2013 technology could muster. A rift in the tectonic plates way down in the depths of the Pacific Rim is the gateway to a campaign of terror by gigantic and destructive beasts, kaiju, killing untold numbers and leaving a wake of destruction in their path. Conventional weaponry managed to take down these early kaiju, but it took days. And soon enough, it becomes apparent that there is no end to these attacks, as the kaiju become more formidable. The last line of defense is the Jaeger program, massive sentinels operated by 2 drift-compatible pilots. Raleigh Beckett and his brother Yancey are one such team. Woken at 2 a.m. by the alarm, the brothers suit up for another bout with a Category 3 knifehead off of Anchorage. Puffed up with unbridled confidence, Gypsy Danger is absolutely wrecked, claiming Yancey's life in the process. Raleigh is devastated by the loss, and the Jaeger program is set for the chopping block, in lieu of walled defenses. What a stupid idea. However, the higher-ups eat their lunch on the decision to phase out the Jaeger program. And once again, Marshal Stacker Pentecost convinces Raleigh to become a Jaeger jockey again. This time with Meiko Mori, a promising yet traumatized rookie who Pentecost saved as a child in Japan. But her past trauma presents a major problem on her first drift. Meanwhile, Dr. Newton Geisler and Dr. Herman Gottlieb have discovered that the kaiju are genetically engineered weapons unleashed by an interdimensional species who intend to colonize the Earth. Geisler is a kaiju groupie, while Gottlieb is more pragmatic in his approach, but he's on the money with his doomsday prediction. They devise a plan to penetrate the breach and detonate a nuclear device, yielding a megaton of riveting battles in the process. Pacific Rim takes us to the edge of calamity with monsters against machines, as tall as Godzilla and sophisticated as a futuristic space program. If you were a fan of kaiju movies from back in the day, maybe the mammoth battles, slick stylized Jaegers, and terrifying kaiju, not men stomping models, cities, and monster costumes will satisfy as an update for the genre. Maybe not. Perhaps you hated Pacific Rim. But you gotta hand it to Guillermo del Toro for crafting a story that's as thick as reinforced iron and deft enough to allow for real human sentiments to accent the concussions of these battles. The last-ditch urgency to defeat the kaiju is jam-packed with jeopardy, adding loads of peril. It's definitely not boring, and the combat is as rock'em sock'em as it could ever be. It is a smart, action-packed film armed with a stand-up cast of performers. And if I had to cite one criticism, I would have to say that the sequel is absolute dog shit. A towering joke of a sequel. But in life we must cherish the moments, because who knows when a baby kaiju will swallow us whole. What did you guys think of Pacific Rim? Alrighty folks, that's a wrap on today's list. What's your take on these movies? Let me know down in the comments section below. And before you jet, please like this video and check out my library of content. And above all, please consider subscribing to the channel. And on that dulcet tone, I will catch you in the next one.